past 40 years, and today I have my special guest. She's a fellow podcast host, as well as a trauma recovery driver, none other than Miss Tracy Smaldino.
Hello, thank you for having me, Daniel.
Welcome, Miss Tracy. On Book One Review, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, thank you. I started my podcast, Trauma Rock Stars, because of my personal trauma journey and my healing journey, I guess I would call it. That's the reason I started it because I went through some extreme trauma when I was young, and I had suppressed it for many, like 40 years. I suppressed it, and once I really started realizing that I had done that and I wasn't living the life I wanted, I had to make some big, big changes. And so I did that. And in the process of doing that, I created this podcast because I want people that have been through trauma and are struggling, or they've gotten to the other side of their healing journey, to build this community that's safe and that we can help each other and support each other.
Mm. Very well said, Miss Tracy, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom today. Thank you. And today let's talk about what do you remember about your trauma? When you think back to the period of your life, is it more a vivid movie in your mind or more of collection of feelings or sensation in your body?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I don't remember my auto accident that I was in, and I don't remember when I was assaulted because I was drugged at that time. In my auto accident, I had a major head injury, so that's why I don't remember that. But like you just said, I do remember the feelings, the suppression, just my nervous system, just floating through life, and kind of that whole mentality. I was kind of faking it, fake it till you make it saying, which isn't doesn't work. That's not true. And you really need to kind of dig deep and figure out like who your authentic self is and who you want to be and the life you want. And you can't do that without healing. So that's why I really, really encourage people to try and, start that healing journey. And it just takes little steps. It's not big, huge steps. It just takes little teeny steps that you're working on all the time.
Baby steps, people, baby steps. If we could
Yeah.
describe the emotional temperature of the time, what was the freezing cold, burning heat, or a kind of eerie numbness?
Mm, that's, I don't know. I think that I had a big moment about 5 years ago when I was meditating, and I realized like I have a lot of work to do. Like I haven't really done any work at all. So I had this meditation is what helped me. I had this moment that I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what this means and what kind of treatment I need for me to heal, like what I need to do. So those were some of my aha moments.
Aha moments, indeed. So, was there a particular smell, sound, or texture that even today has the power to instantly transport you back?
Right now, where I'm at in my healing journey, none of that triggers me anymore. I don't really get triggered because, and I know that that was a big thing. Like, for instance, before, like if you go into, I had to have many, many, many surgeries after my accident. And that smell of going into a procedure, that like it's like that anesthesia smell, was very triggering for me, like hospitals and doctors offices and things like that. But I honestly, because I've gotten to the other side of my healing journey, I don't that doesn't really trigger me anymore at all. Certain songs on the radio, like I would hear back then, and if I hear them now, I they don't trigger me at all.
Very well said, Miss Tracy. In the midst of it all, was there a moment where you remember feeling completely disconnected from yourself, like you were watching it happen to someone else?
Yeah. So when I started, like I said, when I started 5 years ago, I had started doing a lot of internal work. I was meditating, I was journaling, I was doing things like that. And then I started reading this book. And I know you want me to talk about the book. So this book changed my life. It's called The Tell by Amy Griffith. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I had picked up this book because everybody had said how incredible it was, not realizing at all what it was about. I just picked it up to read it, and it was about this woman who was assaulted. She was sexually assaulted by somebody she trusted for many, many years when she was young. Not knowing that, if I had known that at the time, I probably wouldn't have picked up the book, but I did. And within this book, part of her healing journey, she talks about a methodology that she did for healing called MDMA therapy. And when I read about it, and when I read about how Amy, her journey going through the MDMA, and it helped her get to the other side of her trauma, it really was a changing point in my life, because there was something deep inside me that told me I need to do this. I need to try this. I knew in my heart it was going to work. And so that's what I did. That's basically what I did. And that was just early last year. So that's really taken me like to the other side of all of it.
Miss Tracy, looking back, what was the story you were telling yourself about what was happening or about yourself to get through in the moment?
You know what? I don't think I was. I think I was numb. I think I was
Mm.
just numb. I was just coasting through life. I wasn't really facing anything. I had this huge wall up in front of me, a lot of trust issues, things like that. And I don't think I consciously realized how out of touch I was with it. I was just, they call it a fight or flight, you know? And I think I was just living like that for 40 years.
So, did you ever try to explain what is was going on to someone at that time? If so, what was the experience like?
Over the years, I had tried counseling and therapy over the years. It never really worked. I never, as far as everybody knew about my accident, that happened. But as far as my assault, nobody knew. I never told a soul about my assault at all until a couple years ago, actually. And I actually just told my family about it last summer, was the first time I told. So I hadn't really told anybody. I hadn't really talked to anybody. I just held it all in for so long. And at the time, and back then, this is many years ago, people weren't talking about mental health and trauma and things like that. So there wasn't a whole lot of resources out there available. So I just figured I just have to deal with it and get through life, not realizing that I really wasn't even living my authentic life.
Well, Miss Tracy, congratulations. At least you're letting it go, right?
Hmm.
Was there's a part yes, was there a part of you that tried to make sense of it or to find a reason for it, even the reason was something you blame yourself for?
I actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because once I started really doing a deep dive into all of this, I realized that I actually had to forgive myself. I really needed to go back and, we all make bad choices. We all make bad decisions. We all have bad people in our lives. But the reason why I went through all that is because of the trauma I had been through, and it wasn't something by choice. I just didn't know how to deal with life in general. So I looked back and it took me so long to realize all of this. And, it's better late than never, they say, but it took me so long to realize all this. I really needed to go back and I kept saying to myself, I've wasted so much time because I didn't know who I was, what I wanted, the kind of life I wanted. So until I really started healing, did all that start making sense.
At least, Miss Tracy, you are not that much affected now. So
Correct.
how has the way you tell to the story to yourself changed from then to now?
Well, now, I can talk about it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest, like now, like before, I really wouldn't talk about it, or if I would talk about it, well, the assault I didn't talk about at all. Um, but I really wouldn't talk about it, and if I did, I really wasn't paying attention to what my body and my nervous system was telling me, where now if I start talking about it, I can pay attention to that and I can learn from what it's trying to tell me. So now I'm able to talk about it and I'm an open book. Like I can talk about it now and I don't get tense or anything like that anymore. I can be very relaxed, but that's because I'm at peace with everything that's happened. And I'm very proud of myself for where I've come in my journey.
We proud of you, Miss Tracy, to let it out and serve as a guidance to everybody. In what ways do you feel your younger self, the one who lived through that, still lives inside a person you are today?
So it's funny because through meditation, I've learned how to talk to my inner child. And so now what I do is I try and treat myself today as a grown adult how that inner child needed to be treated back then and needed the care that child needed back then. So now I really try to be kind to myself and treat myself like that, moving forward. And I learned all of that through meditation.
Yes, meditation indeed. Before you consciously think about trigger, how does your body let you know that you're feeling unsafe or reminded of the past?
Well, back then I had no clue. I was totally not in touch with my body at all back then and what it was trying to tell me. I was just, I guess, uneducated. I didn't know. Now I know. So now if something like triggers me, I guess, or something comes up that might, I really take a pause for a minute and think, okay, what's my body doing? What's it trying to tell me? And I try to learn from it and say, okay, well, it's telling I'm tensing up right now, but this isn't a big deal because I've already been through the worst of it. So I can just go head first into it and not let like my body stay tense. And now through breath work and things like that, I know how to calm it down very quickly.
Well, congratulations again, Miss Tracy. You did it. You did it. Were there ways you tried to cope at the time, healthy or unhealthy, that you now recognize as a survival strategies?
Well, back then I was hanging out with like not necessarily great people. I didn't have great people in my life. I was going out all the time, partying, and doing stuff like that. And just because it was like a mask, it would mask anything, um, that was going on because I obviously didn't want to face anything. I mean, it was pretty clear by my lifestyle and the things that I was doing and the people I surrounded myself with. So now I don't do that anymore at all. Now I know exactly who I am, the type of people I want in my life, the direction I want my life to go. So anything that happens that isn't that, I say no to. And you have to set boundaries. Like I've set a lot of boundaries.
Boundaries, indeed. So, what did safety feel like after the trauma? Was there a place, a person, or a routine that became an anchor for you?
Back then, I don't think I had it, because I was constantly had this wall up. I don't think I really did feel safe. Like, I would say if I one thing looking back, like, was being with my grandparents, hanging out with my grandparents. I always felt very safe with them, and I knew that they were always there for me no matter what. My family too. But I was so like out of tune with my own internal self and the person I was, that I just think I just had this wall up the whole time.
So, Miss Tracy, as a podcast host as well as a trauma recovery driver, what are your short term and long term goals?
My long-term goals.
Please, yes.
Well, this podcast has been a big part of my life, and it's been really great, as far as my healing journey, like talking to other trauma survivors and hearing their journeys and how they've overcome them. It's very therapeutic. So I'm working on that. I'm hoping to start a workshop this year to help people get more in touch with that, and I'm also writing a book.
Good luck for that, Miss Tracy, and looking forward for that book. Please do come over and let's talk about it on Book 101 review. So, what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a podcast host like us?
Well, oh man, well, it's a lot of work. As you
Yes,
It's, I started this, just doing it on the side because, I have my job and my career and everything, but it's a lot of work doing a podcast. I don't think people realize what podcast hosts put into it. But if you're feeling called to do it because you'll find the time to get it done. You'll find the time, and if you're really feeling a pull for it, I want you to go for it, because there's something out there that you can put into the podcast that's going to help somebody or inspire somebody or just make people laugh.
definitely yes. And I've Miss Tracy said, if you have the passion to do this, please do it and share to the world. Who
Yes.
knows, one of those 8 billion, you will inspire it and make it more. So, Miss Tracy, thank you for that empowering advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah. So, well, the tell that I just showed you, every year I reread the Four Agreements. I love the Four Agreements. If you haven't read it, it's incredible. And then right now I'm reading this, The Power of Now. I don't know if your group has read this yet, but it is
Hmm.
incredible. It's an incredible book. And I've really gotten a lot out of it already, and I'm only halfway through. So I'm constantly trying to read new and inspiring books. And there's an incredible book out that is next on my list. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. I don't know if
Hmm.
you're familiar with it or your listeners, but it's all about that, like what your body's trying to tell you, your nervous system, your mind, and think it's supposed to be incredible. So that's next on my list to read.
Thank you for recommended books, Miss Tracy. So, what is the biggest misconception you think people have about what it's like to live through beyond trauma?
I think people need to realize that a lot of people that have been through trauma, probably most people have not dealt with it, because it's super scary to try and deal with it, because I think people think they're going to re-traumatize themselves, but you're not. You're just trying to be the best version of yourself that you can be, and you need to face it to get to the other side. But the other side of it is incredible, and I want people to know how brave they are, and that's basically what a trauma rock star is. It's somebody that is in touch with themselves. And maybe even if you're in the beginning stages of your healing journey and you're just thinking about trying to heal and get past it. That's what a trauma rock star is. It's somebody that's just trying to better themselves. So I just want people to not be so hard on themselves and realize that it is scary. There's a lot of fear involved with it, but you're worth it and you need to do that for yourself.
You worth it, people. You worth it indeed. So if you go back and sit with the person you were during that time, what's the one thing you would want them to know?
I would be like, you've got this. You can handle this. You can do it. And like the world, your family, the universe, they need to know who you really are and who your authentic self is. So go for it because it's definitely worth the journey.
Go for it, people. Go for it for sure. Has the experience changed your relationship with your own strength, or what do you believe you're capable of?
Now, yes, I don't think I
Mhm.
realized that how strong my mind is and how much I can really understand even the littlest message I might get, like even if it's a little twitch in my finger. You know what I mean? Now I can really relate to what my body's trying to tell me. I don't think I realized ever like how strong I really was mentally. Physically, I'm strong. Physically, I went through a horrific accident and I got through that. I went through an assault. I got through that physically, but I never realized how strong mentally that I am and emotionally. And I never gave myself credit for that. And I never understood my self worth. So that's one thing now I'm like, holy crap, like I am just so strong and I can do anything now.
Well, very well said, Miss Tracy. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in a third season, and my book 101 review in sixth season as well, geography 101 in its fourth season, as well as my love letters, movie 101 review, as well as music 101. Comedy 101 fourth season as well, Food 101 is sixth season, and my baby podcast, Trivia 101, Motivation 101, Spiritual Awakening 101, Love 101, Mental Health 101, and of course, Coaching 101, Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Tracy, if your journey so far was a book, we're in the middle chapters. Without giving away the ending, what's the theme of the chapter you are writing now?
Um, well, I haven't started writing it yet, but the biggest chapter I think is gonna the biggest chapter of the book is gonna be you need to be your own hero.
Mm. Very well said, Miss Tracy. Again, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast, your upcoming book, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, absolutely. And I thank you so much for having me on this.
No worries at all. So where do people can listen your podcast?
All over social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all any platform that you listen to your podcast, everything's under Trauma Rock Stars.
Trauma Rockstar people, Trauma Rockstars, please support Miss Tracy Smaldino because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering advocacy like this to rise. So, Miss Tracy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Body people, see you soon.